Good evening, Vancouver. Welcome back to Canucks After Dark. It is officially training camp week, which means it's time for us to get really back in the swing of things, finally get our predictions from last year out of the way, and go over the battles we're looking forward to the most, touch on the Young Stars a little bit, but as always, joined by my co-host, Canuck Clay. How are we doing tonight, Clay?
Parker, I'm great. Does this mean we're going to be undefeated this entire season? Because the Young Stars are undefeated.
Now, I feel like growing up, whenever they did good in the preseason, they did bad in the regular season. So hopefully Young Stars is the inverse of that. So yeah, 82-0. You know what? Make it 98-0 while we're at it.
I love it. No, I'm doing well. Yes, it's starting to feel real, right? We start to see a few recognizable names in the Young Stars tourney, and we know that that's what we're going to talk about. Training camp starts later this week. So finally, and I'll be honest with you, maybe it's because I was traveling for 5 weeks, Parker. This off season, I might be in the minority. It actually felt shorter than usual. What about you? Maybe it's because we also played into May. I don't know.
I was going to say it was for us because we played an extra month. Yeah, it's that definitely makes a big difference, right? I mean, the Canucks have it has been 4 months, which is kind of crazy to me. It doesn't feel like that long ago, right? May is 4 months ago.
Yep. You're right.
And I had to it doesn't feel that long because I had to do that math twice. It's like 9 minus 5. It's not that hard math. But it really doesn't feel like it was 4 months ago. Summer did really fly by, and obviously we were both busy, but you know, I've had the whole up and downs of the Seattle Mariners season, and they're, doing what the Canucks normally do and what the Mariners have done their whole existence. And, but hey, Seahawks are 2-0. Canucks went 3-0 in the Young Stars. Everything is good. It was 22 degrees outside today. It is still summer. It's a good spot to be right now. Optimism is high. Leon Draisaitl's making way too much money, even though he's not. Like, everything.
Sidney Crosby isn't. Yeah, Sidney Crosby
is criminally underpaid still. But no, it's things are feeling good.
Good. Awesome. No, I'm with you. And I can't wait. We're truly going to wrap a bow on last season, I think, with something we have planned for today, correct?
Correct. Yes. For the second season in a row, we did for 2023-2024 predictions on a bunch of different Canucks factors, and 68 of you responded, or maybe 67 of you, also I guess 65 because both of us are there. Either way, a lot of you responded with guesses to, or predictions to, all these different variables throughout the season last year. There was something like maybe like 15 to 20 different things, probably 20 different things that you could have made predictions on. So stay tuned. We're going to do the same thing for this coming season. I'm assuming October 7th is probably when we'll do that, because that would be the last show before the season starts. So 3 weeks from now, we will do this once again for this season. So make sure you're around for that episode, because you want to get those in. And see if you are smarter than everyone else that watches the show.
Pretty sure they're smarter than me, but I guess we will find out in about whenever we do it later this show. So I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll probably save that for the 25 to 30 minute mark.
All right.
So if you have made predictions, stick around till then to find out if you won. Otherwise, and really for me, I only care about beating you. But it'll be good for our egos if we do better than everyone else. But as I was going through the list, like I think I said Ilya Mikheyev was going to get 60 points last year, so it's not looking great for me. But I have it all set up. I have no idea who had how many points. I have it all set up, so one click of a button, everyone's scores will be revealed to me, and we can go through, see how you did, see how I did, and see how the people did. We can see how many people we beat and how many people beat us.
I can't wait. Well, I can, but I can't wait.
You have to. We've we probably could have done this a month ago, and I keep forgetting. So we have absolutely been able to wait.
All right, we better do it. Sounds good. But before that, I guess fresh off our minds, Young Stars. Although we had the oldest of the Young Stars, but 3-0. I'd rather be 3-0 than 0-3.
Yeah, and really for the Canucks, it was an AHL lineup for the most part going into this tournament. I don't know I didn't have like a list of the ages, but I feel like they must have been higher. But really for the Canucks, we don't care that much about how Max Sasson does, for example. No offense to Max Sasson, but
No.
he's probably not making the team this year or the next because, you know, he's going to be probably an AHL body. But what we're really interested in are the guys who are sort of trying to make that jump, right? And we've talked about the roster this year. It's very, like, feels like we've got 14 guys on the roster that could get the 12 forward spots. Defense are locked up. Like, it doesn't feel like there's really any room for a prospect to make the jump. But is there room for a prospect to be that injury fill-in part of the way through the season? Or when if the Canucks are having offensive struggles and maybe they need to pull someone out of the lineup and inject some youth and some energy, we know there's going to be injuries this season. So we're looking for the guys like, you know, Jonathan Lecaramaki. We're looking for Archie Baines. You know, we're looking at all these different guys to see how they're progressing and whether or not, you know, Atu Ratu, for example, as well. Like, are these guys who can reliably fill in this year, or are we going to be waiting another year for them?
And you know what's funny, Parker? Before we get into individual performances and guys that may have actually increased their stock a little bit, I'm always fascinated. Let's say, for instance, that the Canucks start the season with 13 forwards and 8 D-men, 2 goalie. Right? There's your 23. So let's say of the healthy scratches, 1 forward and 2 D. Okay, so let's not worry about the D. Let's say one of our top 12 goes down. Let's say, for instance, Daniel Sprong gets hurt, and let's say he's in the top 12. Okay. What's always fascinating to me is people get excited of who gets called up from Abbotsford to fill in, but technically you still have that extra forward sitting right on the side. So it's one thing that someone gets called up from Abbotsford, but sometimes they're parachuted right in. They almost leapfrog over that poor healthy scratch who's been there since the start of the year. And other times it's simply they just kind of move up the ladder. The healthy scratch gets in, and now you have the Abbotsford guy taking some reps during practices and stuff. So it's just a small nuance that's always really interesting to me. It's exciting when a young guy gets called up, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play.
Yeah, and I think it really depends on where in the depth chart you're trying to fill, right? Like if Brock Besser goes down, for example, and obviously knock on all the wood in your area, but you know, if someone of that level goes down, right? Are you wanting to, you know, put Neil Zoman into the lineup and then you have to, you know, shift everything, or are you going to say, hey, let's keep those 2 line mates together? And instead of injecting Neil Zoman into that spot, maybe we can, you know, pull up Lecaramaki and throw him into that spot, right? So we're not getting, you know, a bit of an offensive black hole, so to speak, in that spot instead, right? Because you're going to put him into an offensive role.
Great point. You sub one guy in, and it affects one line as opposed to shifting 3 or 4 guys that could affect 3 or 4 lines. Then that's a great point.
Right. Someone on the power play goes down and, you know, let's say again, let's keep using Besser as an example, right? Do you want Lecaramaki on that spot in the power play, or do you want, again, are you going to put like Kiefer Sherwood in, for example, right? Maybe you get that opportunity to get a little bit more firepower. So interesting to keep track of. What was your attention level to the Young Stars this year?
Yeah. It was as high as it could be for someone who didn't watch one single minute of the live streams. Like the timing didn't line up for me due to some other stuff, but I watched all 3 highlight packages, and I was interested to see how the big guys did, and Lecaramaki, Ratu, and Baines, those type of guys. But I started to, you know, take a liking to Kudryavtsev, whose name I couldn't say last night, or you know, things like that. So I would say my interest was decent, despite me not watching a single minute. How about you?
Yeah, it's fair. It was a bit lower. I didn't watch anything live. Again, I wasn't really at my desk or on my couch at the times that I wanted to watch it, or I was doing something else. And but I was like, every time I'd scroll Twitter, there'd be another little clip, right? And especially today, I saw a couple clips of and just like seeing, you know, what the perception is around certain guys, right? Like seeing a lot of talk around Archie Baines and how good of a game he had earlier today, right? And Atu Ratu making a difference, right? And it's good when it's the names that you're hoping to hear that are the names that you do hear, right? I saw someone, I don't remember who it was on Twitter, but they were saying like, you know, Lecaramaki's got, you know, a weapon of a shot, right? Just keep teeing him up on the power play, and seeing that is like great. That it'll be lovely to have like a trigger man on power play 2 maybe next year, right? And have him be able to come into that role. So that was really the most I followed it, because again, it's a little bit tough when it's really unlikely any of these guys are making the team this year out of camp.
Right. Right. No, it's true. It's true. So yeah, you got to kind of mute your expectations. Yet at the same time, it's one of those things, Parker, where people know that the Canucks pipeline isn't great. It's not brutal, but it's not great, and it falls off pretty quick after Lekkerimäki, Villander, DPD, and Ratu and Shilovs. Maybe those are our top five right now if you count Shilov as a prospect. So it is nice to see some of these guys trying to play alongside each other and just seeing their name on the score sheet or whatever. Guys that I've never heard of, but yeah, you're right. Most of these guys probably won't ever play on the Vancouver Canucks per se. So maybe this is their one chance to put a Canucks uni on.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely, it's a good tournament, right? And
Yeah.
it's good that it's in Penticton, so it's sort of, not too far away for opposing fans, and it's a good tournament. But
Yeah, for sure.
Again, just seeing Arshdeep Bain's name come up a lot, right? We saw him in limited action in Vancouver last year. Wasn't really didn't really have the impact that we'd hoped, right? Even though it's tough to when you're sort of thrown in that situation for the first time, but that's nice to see, right? But again, you got to remember, these are guys playing against the young stars of other teams, right? These aren't NHL caliber players, but definitely a good sign going into camp.
Yeah, for sure. A good point. By the way, this Lucas, before we even started the show, actually, much before we started. So thank you, Lucas. We didn't want to miss this. So thank you. You have become a member of the Canucks After Dark crew. So we appreciate you. Thank you, Lucas. Always in the chat supporting us, but now officially part of the membership. So thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. So any other names stick out to you?
Not particularly. It was really those three, right?
Yeah.
I was a little curious about, Josh Bloom, seeing if he would make much of an impact. I don't know if he did. Again, I didn't watch much, but he didn't play a ton, I don't think, last year. So it's nice to see, again, these guys get some ice time in NHL caliber games. I did see, was it Pettersson who got the penalty today for lightly shoving a guy as he threw himself into the wall?
I did not know about that. I know that Pettersson had a strong tourney overall, but did he take a penalty today?
It might not have been him, but someone took a roughing penalty or a boarding penalty on a generic back check, like just skating backwards, and the guy tried to cut around him. I guess it was interference, and he gave him a little shove, and the guy threw himself at the sideboards, which I thought was hilarious.
That guy didn't get a penalty, like an embellishment. They don't call that in Young Stars. Okay.
No, of course not. It's good. Let's get upset with the refs this early in the season.
Yeah, and then I know Tolopilo played today. Ty Young played, and then who played game one? I don't even know.
I'm not the right guy for this question.
Yeah, it's okay. Everyone in the chat, who played in the net in game one? It wasn't. I
thought it was Tolopilo. I feel like I saw him walk out.
There you go. Yep.
I saw a video of him walking out of the dressing room or something on Twitter.
And Viper said to play game 1 and 3. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Everyone's saying, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah. So that's Young Stars. I mean, in a nutshell, it's, but it was 3 days away. Is it Thursday the training camp starts?
It is.
That's crazy. It is. It's really coming. It's really close, and it's in Penticton still. That's their plan, which not as fun as Abbotsford for us, because going over to Abbotsford was a fun time a couple of years ago. But it's exciting. We have to start seeing guys. Obviously, the biggest story going in is the goaltending, which we talked about at length last week. Seems like that's going to remain a bit of a mystery till then, but I think we're assuming Demko's not going to be doing much this week.
Yeah, and I think no, I agree with you. Although it'd be nice to hear some clarity from either him or the team if they provide that to us later this week. They signed local boy Dylan Ferguson to a PTO. He's not expected. To me, that doesn't really move the needle. It doesn't give us any indication of Demko. It tells me that they need 6 goalies in camp, right? Between, and you just need bodies, right? Because you're gonna have 35 guys skating in camp, right? And you're gonna have 2 goalies bear all that load from guys just practicing shots all day. No, you need a bunch of bodies. I mean, hey, Dylan Ferguson has played 3 NHL games with a .929 save percentage. So
he's kind of elite.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually crazy. Yeah, he played one game for Vegas in 2017-18,
Yeah.
allowed one goal on two shots in 9
Yeah.
minutes.
That was like emergency too, I think.
I
If
think it
I know
must
this.
have been.
Yeah.
And then in 2022-23, he played 2 games for the Senators,
Yeah.
had a 940 save percentage with a 252 goals against average. That's pretty cool. And then he played 23 games in the KHL last year, had a 904.
Yeah.
So he's a guy who's probably trying to get maybe an AHL job, although he's had a lot of AHL jobs now that I look at it. But,
Right.
he's probably trying to get back in North America and see if he can get a spot somewhere.
So, and generally guys who do well in the K, they'll get a look or a shot or something. Yeah. So, but who knows that I don't want to be disrespectful and say guys like that are a dime a dozen, but there's a reason why he hasn't stuck with the team right yet. So
Yeah. You're not hoping he's your backup this year, right? No, he's, maybe you get a guy who can, get a little bit of, maybe you add him to the system somewhere and he ends up being an AHL backup or an AHL starter, but
yeah.
just depth.
What's your concern level, Parker? So now it's September 16th. Our first game was on October 9th, I believe, the Wednesday night, October 9. What's your concern level now when it comes to our goaltending? Or are you still not there yet? You want to see what they say and how they look in training camp?
I'm pretty sure Demko's not playing game 1 of the season is sort of where I'm at. Just based on everything we've heard, it doesn't seem very likely. And that is concerning. Looking at the start of the calendar, though, the one thing that is a bit of a benefit is the entire beginning of the season, barring October 9th against the Flames, are all 2-point games, as in they are all against Eastern opponents that don't matter, right? Flyers, they get Flames and then Flyers at home to start the season. Then they go on their Florida trip, knock that out right away, right? Lightning. So they go Tampa. Then they go to Sunrise, face the Panthers. Then they face the Flyers on the road. Then they face the Blackhawks on the road. And then they take the Penguins and the Hurricanes and then the Devils at home. So by the end of October, they have played one team even in their conference that's worth considering, right? Because Chicago's not going to do much this year. So there's no games against Edmonton. There's no games against LA. There's no games against Vegas. There's one game against Calgary, who I don't think is going to do much this year. So at least if you're going to have a time of the year that you don't have your number one goalie, it's against teams that aren't critical to beat in the standings, right? So if you can go, 500, even just below it in October, right? Not as meaningful as when you get back at the beginning of November and then you get the Sharks, Ducks, Kings, Oilers, Flames 5 games in a row. So if Demko can be back by the end of October, then they're in a pretty good spot.
You know what else stands out to me too, Parker, when you rattle off all those opponents? Not too tough of a schedule. Yes, you got Florida in there, Tampa, you never know. And I think you mentioned like New Jersey and Carolina, who are good teams. But I also heard Philly twice. I heard Calgary. I heard Chicago, right? So it's not like the world beaters to start off. We have a chance to get off to another good start.
Yeah, again, goaltending is going to be key to that. Seeing how guys show up. Look, why October 22nd, Canucks in Chicago, 5:15 start time. Interesting.
5:15
all the
Pacific.
games start 15. Yeah, all the games start 15 minutes late anyways. I don't know why they had to specify, but it's interesting that they get the Flyers out of the way. 10 days into the season, right? October 19th, they're done facing the Flyers. Which is cool. We get to see Michkov, but I think that's one benefit for the Canucks is that the start of the season, you face a lot of out of conference opponents that don't have as much impact. Because if you get out of that stretch through the end of October, which is 9 games, and if you're 4-5 through that, let's say on that road trip plus the 2 home games, you're in a totally fine spot because maybe you're 2 or 3 games back of like an Edmonton to start the season, but you haven't played them yet, and you've gotten your big road trip out of the way, or one of your big road trips out of the way, and that can help going forward.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a really good, by the way, so 2 things there. Number one, of course, every game is worth 2 points in the win column, but Yeah, the ramifications when you're not playing a conference team and especially a division team. Yeah, you're right. It's not those proverbial 4-point games. The other thing I was going to ask you, that game you said that starts at 5:15 against Chicago. What day of the week is that? Is it a Wednesday?
It's Tuesday, I think it's
Oh,
22nd.
weird. Okay, then I don't know why it's at 5:15 then.
Oh yeah, Wednesday would make sense because it would be a national.
Yeah,
Maybe it
yeah, I
is.
remember those.
Maybe they're doing a random Tuesday night one.
Okay,
Who knows?
fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, but that's a great point. We know that when we go to games or when we're watching, usually you can count on 7:07 or 7:08 if there's no special thing. That's generally when the puck drops. But then yes, if it's a Wednesday or Saturday, then you can add a few more minutes to that for sure.
Yep.
Okay,
All
so we
right.
talked about the goaltending. Anything training camp defense that you're excited about or wondering about, or is it
Not
set?
particularly. I
Yeah.
mean, I want to see again, it's another year under Rick Tockett's system for a few of these guys, right? That's very good for guys like I'm hoping Tyler Myers and Carson Soucy, right? You're adding Forbort and Desharnais on the third pair. Forbert's 32 at this point, but he's getting put into a new system that seems to be pretty good for defensemen. Same with Desharnais. Desharnais only played, like we said last week, one full season essentially, and was fine. So if those two guys can be good on the third pair, that's big. Noah Juleson is just locked in to be your number 7. I think at this point, he's not paid enough to take one of those spots in the lineup, but you could see him slotting in every once in a while if need be. But for the defense, I mean, there's not much to really consider, right?
No.
It's a very organized, like, yeah, those are your top 2. Yep. Those are your 3 and 4, and those are your 5 and 6. The defense just, unless something crazy happens, it's pretty much set, at least for opening night, right before any injuries, anything like that.
Right.
But then any injury happens, like, okay, you're going to slot in Noah Juleson, and then you maybe, Willanen or something like that if need be. But,
Yes.
it's a very boring defense if you are just looking at the depth chart.
Yeah, and we won't go into individual lines because we got some predictions to get to. But is it safe to say, Parker, that there's a top 12 that we always talk about, and then whatever order you want to put on, would you agree that it's DiGiuseppe, Aman, and Blais as the 13, 14, 15? And that's not including Lekkerimäki, Ratu, Baines, all those guys. Or are you putting like one of those guys in for a Sprong, Hoglander, or Sherwood? Probably not, right?
I don't think so. I could see. I have this fear of Hoglander being on the outside, but like he scored 24 goals last year, all at evens, right? Like that's so valuable. He's got so much skill. Another year under his belt. Like he's 23. Like he's still so young. I think he should be in the roster night 1.
Right.
And yeah, like, you get sort of that mix of, Sherwood, DiGiuseppe, Sprong, Oman. I think, Sherwood out of that group, Sherwood and Sprong are probably both in.
Yeah,
and yeah,
I agree.
You got DiGiuseppe on the outside. You've got Oman on the outside.
Yeah.
Again, it feels like the 12 is pretty set, unless, but that's the good thing about having, a bit of depth there, right? Like an Oman, or like a DiGiuseppe is that, hey, if some of them comes out and is a world beater in training camp and the preseason, then you have some tough decisions to make. And those are good decisions to make, right? Hopefully you're making those decisions because someone's overachieving instead of someone else underachieving. But it'll be very interesting to see, when you get to, sort of the start of preseason or late in camp, you start getting those line combos together. Because obviously day 1 of camp, you get the initial ones, and we can do a good guess at what those are going to be. But by the end of camp, those might be entirely different, especially, on the wings, I would say.
Yeah. And I know it's not in the title, but I'm pretty sure that I saw in your thumbnail that you created that you said Lekkerimäki will make the team. Or will
I did not say he will make the team.
We'll play this season.
I think he will play games this year, and I think it's whether it's a losing streak that they want to just pull him up for a bit of life, or whether it's an injury, which are destined to happen in the NHL. Right, someone's going to miss some games. I saw a lot of people during that Young Stars saying that he looked really good, and I think that's it's not something I'd be surprised to see. Right, if he played. Even if he plays 6 games this year, right, just comes up, especially with the team being in Abbotsford, they can just call him up. Like, Abby has 4 days off. Hey, call him up, practice with a big club. slot in for one game because we need a spark on, on the third line, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bad
No,
example. The third line's always going to be perfect and nothing will ever go wrong with them. But maybe they need some scoring touch on power play too, right? And they say, hey, Lekkerimäki, you go in and you can, pull the trigger from the top of the dot.
There's a chance that we're going to see Lekkerimäki. We're going to see Verlander. If his college season ends early, we could see the Brock Besser, Quinn Hughes treatment, get 5 games in, burn the first year your ELC, get closer to your next contract and all those things. So who knows? And then maybe Ratu Bain. Well, Baines has already had a sniff. Maybe Ratu Bain. So yeah, I think we're making a pretty good point here. Not this amazing point, but whoever starts the season between injuries and performance, as you just mentioned, or maybe just simply getting a look for, because we're trending either good or bad. Yeah, I think we're going to see a couple of these young guys. Well, we should, if the Canucks, they got to kind of plan as they try and win games as well. So we shall see.
Yeah, absolutely.
We shall see. Well,
all right.
10-25. A quick word about Crosby's contract. Do you think it's cute that he does the whole 8.7, or and we know it's a steal for Pittsburgh?
It's such a steal. Even now, right? Like I saw Dom's model said that he should be making like 10.7 million this year. It also said, he also said in his tweet, he was like, based on my model, Sidney Crosby has left $43 million on the table based on his expected value, or his value that he's provided compared to what he's actually paid, which makes a lot of sense, right? We're talking about, a top player all time who has never cracked $9 million. While you have a ton of guys, like he has never made what Darnell Nurse makes now.
What? Oh.
Like that's criminal, frankly. That's he's superstitious and he wanted to help his team win and to help the team win. He did, right? He absolutely did. So, Pittsburgh continues to have a steal. They got him for 3 years now because he had 2 years or 1 year left, and they get 2 more. So. That does feel, and what we had heard previously was Kyle Dubas had said, basically, we have offers on the table for him for like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years. And we basically said, take some time, figure out how long you want to play and pick one. Because they're probably pretty easy, right? They're probably all full no move and $8.7 million AAV. And however Sidney Crosby, since we're paying him so little, however you want the dollars to work signing bonus wise, like you can do whatever you want is how I assume that would go. So it does feel like, hey, are we down to the last 3 years of Sidney Crosby, right?
Exactly.
Which is crazy because at that point, after 3 seasons from now, that would be 24, 25, 26, 27. He would be 40 right after the season would end, right? He'd be 39 years old during that season. He turned 40 on August 7th, of 2027.
Isn't it crazy how 10 or 12 years ago, well, I can't speak for you, but when he's going through those concussion issues, you maybe didn't think he was going to get to 40 years old. And it's almost like he's getting more durable or more reliable, whatever the word is, maybe more lucky as he gets older. So I could see him even doing another 1 or 2 years after 40, but maybe not. Maybe he's going to say, that's good enough. I'm tired of losing. I'm done.
Yeah. I mean, he's never going to play for another team. Right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's a given. I think we're also lucky, like just the hockey world in general, right? Because we could have not had, like, Sidney Crosby could have retired at 30, been a first ballot Hall of Famer with concussion issues, and have been like one of the biggest what if stories, right? Like, hey, he could have broken 1,000 assists, which he has, right? Like all these different milestones, right? I think he's like 6 away from 600 goals or something like that, right? He's going to break that this year. And he has a chance to break 700 if he plays, 3 really good years and maybe a 4th. It did feel like we were on the verge of sort of being robbed of that. But it's good that he was able to, go this long.
Indeed. Well, we're halfway through the show. Do you want to crank up your spreadsheet or get it going a little bit?
Let's do it. So, folks, this is the predictions segment. If this sounds fun to you while we go over this and you did not partake last year, or if you did partake last year, you can, of course, join us again this year. 3 weeks from today, October 7th, which is our last show before the season starts on October 9th. We will have the predictions up and running, ready for you. We'll go through our predictions live on that show. You guys can go in to the form and fill out your picks. We had 68 or 67 people join us last year with it. One person did submit after the deadline, which was the start of the Oilers game. So if they win, we're going to have to look into things a little bit.
Controversy.
But the odds of that are 1 in 67. So hopefully,
Well, depends who it is.
this person, but hopefully they lose, so we don't have to worry about that. So we're going to go through, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over each of the questions that we asked, the correct answer to those questions, and each of our predictions for those questions. Essentially the way it worked, if you had the first question, for example, was how many points would the Canucks finish the season with? Essentially it's a 10-point sliding scale. If you nail it, you get 10 points. Every point that you're off, you lose a point on the scale. So if you were more than 10 points off, which, spoiler alert, both of us were, and most people were, you get 0 on the question. Anything that was multiple choice, you either get 10 for being right, 0 for being wrong. So those are some big swings potentially there. So we'll start off with, 109 points for the Canucks last year. I predicted 96 because I'm the optimist of the group. You picked 95. So tough start.
So 0 and 0. And how easy is it for you, Parker? You don't have to go through all 67 entries, but how easy is it for you to say, and there's one person who got it right? Can you see that, or is that too hard to do?
I absolutely can. Yeah, I'll see if anyone did get it exactly right. Looks like the closest we had was 4 off. We had a 103. We had 2 103s.
Okay.
In the group. So those aren't the most optimistic because one person said 164. But the most realistic optimistic one got 4 points in that case.
Good. Good.
Goal differential, another place where we struggled. I said they'd be a plus 15. You said plus 10. Again, we thought this team was going to be middle of the pack. The one year that we predict low, things go high. Obviously, the Canucks were plus 56. So we weren't even close on that. Someone did say 55. So they did pretty well.
Wow.
What place in the Pacific Division would the Canucks finish with? I said 4th. You said 5th. They were obviously 1st. So I got 7 points there. You got 6. What place in the NHL would they finish? We both said 15. They finished 6th. So we each squeak out 1 point there. No one got that one correct. Closest someone said was 8th. And they were quite close on that front.
Yeah.
Longest winning streak, you nailed. It was 5 for the Canucks this season. They won 5 straight games at one point. I had guessed 6. There's a lot of people who got this one right. Because it's a pretty fair one. Longest losing streak, we also both said 5 on that one. It was 4. So they were, again, slightly better than expected. A lot of people got that one right as well.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of multiple choice questions, which are big point swings. If you get it right, you get 10 points. If you get it wrong, you get nothing. How will the Canucks season end? The options were miss the playoffs, out in round 1, out in round 2, out in round 3, lose the final, win the final. So every possibility.
So you're saying this all or nothing, 10 or nothing?
10 or nothing.
Okay.
Do you remember what you guessed on this one?
No, I have no clue.
You guessed that the Canucks would lose in round 2, which is correct. And I also guessed
that's massive. Oh, you did too. Okay, good.
So
dang it. I thought I got 10 on you. Dang it.
No, you didn't.
Shucks.
Next multiple choice question. Will Elias Pettersson sign an extension before the end of the regular season? We both said no. And of course he did in March.
We suck again. We're not so good here.
The next one. We're off the multiple choice. The rest here on out, those are the only multiple choice ones. The rest are back to that sliding scale again.
Yep.
The Canucks currently hold 6 picks for the 2024 draft. How many will they hold after the trade deadline? The correct answer was 5. The Canucks made 5 draft picks in this draft, and we both said 5. And most people did.
Wow.
Most people did pretty well on that one. The rest of the way, it's points, essentially. So
this is fun, Park. By the way, this is a lot of fun. This is pretty cool.
So I don't know where we're at currently. It's a bit tough for me to tell, but it feels like we're very close. Is all I can say. So it all comes down to our individual point predictions for each player. We started at JT Miller. Both of us thought there'd be some regression. I guessed 85. You guessed 80. Of course, he scored 103 points. No one was close on this one. No one predicted. One person did predict 102.
Good.
No one else was remotely close. The next closest was a 97, and then there was some 95s. But most people got 0 on that one. Elias Pettersson, an opposite story. 89 points last season. I guessed 109. I thought we had breakout Pettersson coming. You guessed 98. So you squeak out one single point for being 9
I think I'm
off.
still losing. Okay, cool.
Brock Besser. I think you know where this one's going. We both got 0. I had 50,
Too low.
you had 54.
Yeah.
He had 73. There was a 70 in there as a guess. That's pretty good. Couple of 70s. Someone did nail it. The person who submitted late guessed 73. Now, keep in mind, this was after Brock Besser scored 4 goals in one game. So a slight advantage there.
Wait, but did this person submit after the Canucks game or during?
It was at like 11:50 that night.
Okay, so it was after.
So they were after the game. Not by much, but just after.
Yeah, for sure.
Connor Garland, 47 points this last season. I guessed 50, so it's very close. But you did guess 47. Exactly correct on Connor Garland. Another one that you'll get some gap on me. Like I said, I guessed Ilya Mikheyev would put up 60 points this year. You a little more pessimistic at 35, and he put up 31. So you did get 6 points on that one.
Yeah.
Lots of zeros on Anthony Beauvillier. I had 36. You had 43. Lots. Everyone was in the 30s and 40s. There's a 50 in there. He had 17. He had 17 points. So everyone got 0 for the most part. Actually, only one person got points on that question with a guess of 22. So even they were still optimistic.
But that's 5 points no one else got.
That is 5 points no one else got. Teddy Bluger put up 28 points last year. You only thought he'd get 19. So 1 point for you there. I guessed he'd get 29. So I got a big 9.
That's a huge swing. Oh my gosh. There goes my Mikheyev gap there.
Pius Suter. 29 points is what Pius Suter got last year. You had him at 25. Very good, but I did have him at 28.
No, this sucks.
So another couple of points from me there. And Sam Lafferty, 24 point scorer. You were really good on Sam Lafferty, though. 24 points. He had you guessed 25. I did guess 24, so I got 10 points on that one too.
Nicely done. I almost spilled my drink.
It's okay. There's still time. There's still time to fall apart. Andrei Kuzmenko had 46 points. Everyone was too high on Kuzmenko. No one got a single point out of the 65 respondents, or 67 if you include us. No one got anything on Kuzmenko. Everyone was 60 or higher, and he had 46. Phil DiGiuseppe, everyone was extremely optimistic on, or at least we were. There's a lot of 40s in here, some 30s. I had 40. You had 32. He had 10 points last year.
Well, it helped if we played more than 51 games.
Yeah, we were a little optimistic. We had looked. I was like, how did we guess this? And we saw that I guess he had 10 points in 30 games the year prior, and we're like, oh, he's gonna take that to the full season. Not the best guessing on our part. Yes. Quinn Hughes is next, and we've got about 8 more categories, it looks like here.
Okay.
Quinn Hughes had 92 points this last season. I had 86 as my guess. Unfortunately, you were very pessimistic with 76. So I get 4 points there.
I'm out of here. I don't deserve
Philip
to be
Hronek, we both guessed 41 points. He had 48. Carson Soucy, you guessed Carson Soucy with 18 points last year. He did get 6. I had 15, so I get 1 point there. Not much to brag about. Ian Cole, though, helps you out a little bit. I had him getting 23 points. You had 17. He did get 11. So you get 4 points on that one. Now, here is where I think you make a bit of a move here. Thatcher Demko save percentage. Now, I thought Demko would be slightly above league average, and I guessed 909 because league average had dropped to like 902 last year, or something along those lines. You thought he'd get a 915, but he had a 918. So obviously a great year for Demko. That gets you a good chunk of points. Casey DeSmith had an 896. Neither of us got points on that one. We were both pretty optimistic.
What did we say? 908?
I had 906. You had 912. And I'm just going to do one thing here to make sure that I have this all right. And I don't want to get anything wrong. I'm going to freeze those 2 columns. Perfect. Okay. We just did Casey DeSmith. Total Canucks shutouts. I guessed 4. You guessed 3. Even though you thought Demko was going to put up a 9-15. And the Canucks had 6. I think Demko had 5. DeSmith had 1.
Yeah.
Canucks power play percentage rounded to the nearest number. The Canucks had a 22.7, which rounds up to 23. You guessed 24. I had 23. So not much
Good
there. One
Good
point
one, though.
swing. Canucks penalty kill, though, I had 77. You had 79. The Canucks did have a 79% penalty kill. So that is 10 points for you and 8.
Hey, we're really good at these percentage ones, not the point.
Yeah, well, they're easy to be pretty close, I think, on these ones. So that is everything. The highest possible score, 29 questions, 290 points. Do we want to know do you want to?
I want to know the highest fan first.
Okay, so I'm gonna scroll. I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna double click and I'm gonna scroll down so I can't see. I'm gonna scroll up to right before ours, so I don't know ours.
Yeah.
Okay,
Who's
I
the
should
top
have
3
sorted
fans?
before I did this. We've got a 130. We've got another 130. We've got a 134, 143, 144. 144 seems to be the highest.
And you can see the name.
I only have an email, and that makes it a little complicated, but it is a Jason, is what I can tell you. So Jason, I'll email you, I guess, to tell you if you actually won. I didn't ask for names, just emails.
Can you text? Can you do we have a private chat in the back?
Can put it in the private chat between us.
Because I might know who it is. Yeah. Okay.
It's in there. So 144 points for Jason.
Good job, Jason. Yeah.
Now here's ours. I'm going to scroll up.
I'm going to try and read from your face.
So the winning score was 144 points. You did not beat that score. Neither did I. You had 119 points out of a possible 290. 119. Now, can I sort by this column? I messed it up. Hold on. We can sort by this column in 2 seconds here. If I do, oh no, it's not.
No, Jasker, it was not Jason Lim, our friend from Van City Experts. It was not Jason Lim, at least not from the email.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Here, I'm going to sort by highest to lowest to see where we both placed. Let's sort by, I guess, A to Z. That doesn't make any sense. It's a number. Okay. It didn't really work. Either way, let's fix
What's your score? Just tell me your score.
I had 116, so you beat me by 3.
Oh, first time ever, I think. I'm 1 and 2 against you now, but still.
Have we done this 3 times?
Maybe only twice. I know you won last time.
Yeah, I think we might have only done this twice. So I think we're 1-1. The person who cheated got 124, so they did not win.
Can I ask who got the lowest? Not who got the lowest. What was the lowest?
The lowest was probably the guy who guessed that the Canucks would get 164 points. There was a 58 that seems to have been
legit.
Real guesses, as far as I can tell. Just scrolling back. Yeah, they had like 96 points, so that makes sense.
Shiraz, there's no prize, by the way.
Seems to be the lowest.
You know what? And truly, like, I don't care who beat the other guy by 3. It's quite remarkable how close we were. Like, it's not like we were close on the same questions, but a lot of them we were. I actually think this is a nice, without sounding corny, it's a nice affirmation for us that we are similar in mind. Like, it doesn't mean that we're like group thinking. We always agree with each other, but we're at least within ballpark, if you know what I mean. Like in general terms, I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing.
We both did fairly well, I would say.
Yeah. Top half or not even?
I'm trying to figure that out right now.
I'm just curious.
I don't like that it makes me sort A to Z. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, we finished. It looks like you finished 17th, 18th, and I was 20th out of the 67.
Okay. So top third, but nowhere close to the winner. Congrats, Jason. That's good.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Very good.
Cool. Well, people are asking Parker if
they were at the 58.
Do you recognize the 58 name?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it unless I really recognize the person.
Right. That's fair. That's fair.
But no.
Well, people are asking in the chat if we're going to do it again. And you mentioned that right at the start. We are,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. So, like I said, October 7th, 3 weeks from today, we'll do a show. The link to the predictions will be in the description of that. I might even prep it the week earlier so you guys can get predictions in ahead of time.
I like
get
that
more people
idea.
in if I remember to. That is that is also a day off that Monday before, so I really have no excuse. So we'll see.
Well, thank you, Parker, for doing the lion's share of the work like you always do. But that's cool. I think you can manipulate a spreadsheet much faster than I can. So it's kind of cool. That's it seems like a lot of work to set up, and probably is. But if you were able to quickly get results, that's awesome. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it did take me about 12 minutes to figure out today, so it
Not bad at all.
Didn't take too much time. Don't worry about it.
And if there's enough interest, maybe we will award a small prize next year, because I'm pretty sure we didn't agree on a prize, nor did we agree on a little bet, and it's 1-1, so it's fair. So I think for a rubber match for this season, we'll have to come up with a small little humiliating wager of some sort.
For sure. Yeah, and I'll send an email to the winner. If I can make it so you guys can see your own results, I will. I don't know how to do that because I formulated all the results here. Either way. But yeah, I'll send an email to the winner. We'll do something for us. I think Gio won last year.
That's
if I remember
right.
correctly.
That sounds right.
Which just made us look bad.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, but that's okay. The pride in winning this is good enough. Loser has to wear Mark Messier. Okay, you know what we'll do is we will. On that October 7th show, we will get your suggestions like we did last year. We just didn't take any of them as to what the loser will have to do. I like it.
Yeah. Good idea. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you, 13 minutes left, which is just enough time for the people. So, folks, if you've got any questions, whether it's about going to training camp, whether it's related to something entirely different, whatever you've got, give us your questions, send them in. While you're here and while we wait for some questions to pile in, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. 83 people, 17 likes, not the best ratio. Get those up.
Nope.
And if you have missed any part of the show so far, you can rewind or you can find it on your favorite podcast platform, subscribing on Spotify or Apple or whatever helps us out as well.
Awesome. Actually, Fanker asked me this on my show, and we had a nice chat about it in honor, their theme nights throughout the league. Do you think, I said probably not, but maybe they'll do some sort of tribute for the Goudreaus, whether it's a theme night or simply moments of silence. What do you think?
Yeah, and I feel like there might be some sort of like foundation that the NHL sets up or something similar to like MAD that would raise money for for that cause. Yeah, I don't know if they'll obviously honor the Goudreaus. Every team will do something on opening night at all their home openers. You have to imagine, of course, the Columbus Calgary games. The two of those will be obviously big on that. But yeah, I'm sure that might be something that goes, that gets talked about later on, but probably not this year, I'd imagine.
Sure. All right, 1, 2, 3. I'll give you a chance to think about this between Baines, Ratu, Lekkerimäki. Right, rank all three by number of NHL games. I'm going Baines, Lekkerimäki, Ratu.
Yeah, I think that's the right order. Baines has already played a couple NHL games. I think that's a very sort of big prerequisite. Yeah, that would be mine as well, but depends who's out, right?
Sure.
If if Phil DiGiuseppe is out and they need to fill that slot, it's probably Baines. If if Connor Garland's out or if Jake DeBrusk is out, then it's probably Lekkerimäki.
Great answer. Jaskrin says, Parker, I'll fight you if you underestimate Demko once again.
I'll wait till we get the Thatcher Demko games played prediction.
That could be a 10-point swing right there.
That could be a big one. Yeah.
This is a great question. Who wins the Calder this season? Obviously, Michkov is eligible.
Yeah.
Isn't what's the guy? Stankoven's eligible, right? This year,
Is
I believe.
He really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is.
He would be.
Yeah, I saw lists. So that's already obviously. Who knows if Celebrini's gonna what kind of dent he's gonna make? Well, he's a crappy team, but you never know. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a very cool race this year.
Yeah, I pulled up some odds because I'm interested in how close it is, right? Because Bedard was a runaway favorite last year, right? He's probably,
Yep.
better than 50% odds at the start of the season. But
Yep.
there's Michkov is the slight favorite at
Hmm.
about 4.5 to 1.
Okay.
Macklin Celebrini and Stankoven are both at 5 to 1.
Yeah.
Cutter Gauthier and Will Smith both at 6 to 1, and then Lane Hudson is at 8 to 1.
Oh,
Then
that's
there's a couple
close.
guys like Dustin Wolf,
Yeah.
Rucker McGroarty, but they're way like
Yeah.
30 to 1.
Yeah.
So it's really there's sort of three favorites: Michkov, Celebrini, Stankoven,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and they're pretty
Good.
much a toss up.
Good. We nailed those three. So if you had to pick one now,
I'm excited to see what Michkov does.
yeah.
But I think Stankoven would be my pick.
Yeah. I know this
Um,
makes for a boring show. I agree.
but I'm excited like that. Like I'm looking at that October 11th game. I'm like,
Yeah.
that might be a fun one to go to Friday night with Michkov in town. That could be a fun
Which
one.
is great segue, not even planned. So Lucas, I'll give Parker a minute to think about this, whether or not we're going to these games. I can't go to the home opener, so I am going to go to that Canucks Flyers game on the 11th. I am very excited to see Michkov. I think I'm going to hit one of the two Oilers games, and I always love seeing Colorado because I think they're a great team, and I'm going to try and hit the Panthers game to see the returning Stanley Cup champs. How about you, Parker? Whether you're going to the game or not?
Yeah, it's probably October 9th against the Flames. I'll
Yeah.
probably be there. It's one of those things where I know myself, and I know the morning of that game, I'll be like, yeah, I want to be there, and I'll buy a last minute ticket and take the bus and take the train and the three
Mm-hmm.
modes of transit to get there. But like it's one of those ones that I just want to be in the building.
Mm-hmm.
After that good year last year, and Wednesdays are a pretty easy day to make work. So
Good.
I'd love to go
Good.
to that Flyers game too, but I'll probably go to the Flames one, and swinging 2 and 2 nights is a bit tough. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and other than that, like it's tough. A lot of the games I'm going to go to this year are probably going to be the Tuesday, Wednesday night. Pretty affordable.
Yep.
I'm probably not going to the Leafs game.
Sure.
Because unless it's in a season ticket package, it's
Yeah.
not really worth it to me to be bidding
Yep.
against the opposing team fans.
Yeah. Well, if you need tickets, I know a guy, just so you know. Okay.
Yeah. Like a Utah on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
It's not going to be too pricey of a ticket.
There you go. Zal, what are your expectations for the Canucks special teams this year? Their power play really dropped off in the second half of the season. I'm really curious to see what DeBrus does say on unit 1, maybe of a Sprong on unit 2. So I think the power play is going to be a bit better than 23, maybe just a bit. And the penalty kill, I don't know how much better it's going to get given who we lost, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, there's not going to be a ton of turnover. I don't
Yeah.
think on the units, and same coaching staff, et cetera, et cetera. Another year for the system. But I think when I was pulling all the numbers up earlier today for the predictions, I think the power play was 11th in the league. I think
Okay.
it's top 10 power play. So I think, slight bump there. Maybe like 8th in the league. Well, that's like probably 24%. I would imagine gets you there. And then penalty kill. Yeah, I mean, you want to be better than. If you're going to have a 24% power play, you want your penalty kill to be better than 76, right? Because it's a not very analytical level of analytics, but it's good if your two numbers are higher than 100, because that means that special
There you go.
teams, in a broad sense, you're doing okay.
Breaking, yeah.
So they were a 79% last year. We just said,
Yep. 23 and 79. Yeah.
if that number starts with an 8, I'm happy. If they,
Yep.
and I'll round up. If you got 79.5, I'm happy. Because I think that power play is going to be pretty good. I don't think we should put we can hope we'd be like, oh, maybe Desharnais is the ticket to the penalty kill. Seems unlikely. But I can be hopeful.
Very good. Carol, I know a couple of people have answered this for you, but a PTO is a professional tryout. It's not a contract. It's a step before a contract. Parker, I know you and I talked about this. If you're on a PTO with a team, does that mean they have exclusive, or can you actually sign with another team while you're on your PTO? We talked about this last time.
You can sign with another team. Yeah.
Okay.
And even if you have an AHL contract, which I think this was the topic of conversation, if you have an AHL contract, an NHL contract would supersede that. So even if you sign an AHL contract with Vancouver, if San Jose says, hey, we'll give you an NHL contract, you can take that, and it would void your AHL deal.
So, Carol, anytime you see like a Sammy Blais or Dylan Ferguson signed to a PTO, that simply means the Canucks are not offering a full term contract on the team. They got to earn their way. Just they're basically trying them out to see if they're any better than any of the guys that we already have under contract.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? DPD and EP40 might not happen this season, but eventually it will.
Hopefully it will. No one's a lock, of course, to make the big club, but yeah, I think they'll have a way to. I think he'll have a way to work it out. I'm sure he'll have some sort of shorthand. Yeah, anything that causes Shorthouse to quit would make me very sad. So I'm hoping. I would much rather if you said, "Hey, you get defensive Elias Pettersson for 3 years or Shorthouse for 3 years." I think I'm taking Shorthouse.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true. But DPD, yeah. One game for Lucas, who asked the question, is the Utah game, kind of what you said, Parker. What will the fans wear? Will they show up in brand new Utah jerseys or Coyotes jerseys? Interesting.
There'll be a couple. I don't think many people are traveling from Salt Lake as Utah fans to that game. Do we know when that is?
Later in the year.
March 16th, which is a Sunday night. Nope. It is a Sunday night. At 5 p.m. So a good start time for Utah, even though it's in Vancouver. But yeah, it's tough, right? I think a lot of the Coyotes fans, aren't going to follow along with Utah. I think a lot of them are going to pick new teams, just because of the way that whole thing went.
Sure.
I don't think we saw a lot of Thrashers jerseys and Jets when the Jets came to town, for example, after that move. So there'll be a couple. There'll be some people wearing their Kachina jerseys for fun, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think there's going to be. I don't think you're going to be seeing a lot of powder blue or whatever color you could call the Coyotes jerseys.
Love this question from Spartan, but I'm so ignorant. Who's the other Jack Hughes? Like, I know the two Elias Petterssons. I knew the two Sebastian Ahos. Who's the other Jack Hughes?
I don't know if there is one.
Maybe Spartan's trying to.
Very quick.
Yeah, thank you. While you're looking that up, Irvin, I'll answer this one. How many pieces is Montreal away from being good? They might have the pieces. I think they're just young pieces. But admittedly, I don't know their roster. I know there's a lot of excitement about their roster, but I think they're still a couple pieces away for sure, or at least a couple of years away from maturing.
Okay.
Yep.
Jack Hughes, 20-year-old center, drafted 51st overall in 2022 by the LA Kings. Playing for Boston University. Doesn't look like he's gonna make it. He's kind of obviously he just hasn't had a big jump in production. His 3 years in college, he's been about the same production, which usually isn't a great sign. I think out of these choices, only one of those choices is two NHL players.
Yeah. It's true.
And that's Sebastian Aho.
Yeah. Although you could argue the ceiling for the two Petterssons could be higher.
Could be.
Yeah. And then Jack Hughes is so. This is a great
today,
question,
though. I mean, you want whichever the better players makes the most impact, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think the secondaries matter all that much.
Fair enough. Do you know anything about Montreal? I felt like I didn't give Irvin a good answer, but I don't know anything about their roster.
I don't know much about Montreal's roster. I mean, I'm a Caulfield fan, but yeah, everything I see feels early. Like a lot of the optimism I see, it feels a little bit premature. I don't think they're a playoff team yet. I think there's too many good teams in the East. Sorry, what were they last year? Eastern Conference. Yeah, they were bottom of the Atlantic last year. Right, like that division's such a gauntlet. Right? Like, okay, you have to be better than than one of the Panthers, Bruins, Maple Leafs, or Lightning to be top 4 in that division. And then you still have to leapfrog. I mean, you're like Ottawa, whatever. Yeah. Buffalo, kind of whatever as well. But like Detroit looked pretty good last year too. Like they had 91 points. Yeah. You have to get 20 plus points better. I mean, wild card 2, I guess, was 91. So you have to get 16 points better, and I don't think 91 gets you in the wild card this year.
It's funny, Parker, when you mentioned those
being better.
Right. When you mentioned those 3 teams with Ottawa, Buffalo, and Detroit, I remember last year at this time, there was optimism for all 3 teams.
Yeah. Yeah. Ottawa, Vancouver were very similar starting points last year. like two teams that were sort of on the, hoping they would break out, right? They had Brady Tkachuk coming up and these other guys, and they were supposed to be like 50-50 bubble playoff team. And because I remember doing Game Over, I believe with Maud after the first Canucks Sens game.
Right.
And we both had that. We had the conversations like the Canucks are just rolling and the Sens are collapsing early in the season. And we both had like similar expectations.
Right.
So I think that's a big, it's tough for them, right? They were supposed to make that step and they just absolutely stumbled and finished with 78 points.
All right, let's end with this one. Edmund says, back when Horvat was a UFA and him not getting extended became a distraction, do you feel the same will be with Brock Besser?
It could. It's really tough. It feels very similar to Pettersson, right? I feel like that extension could get done in the middle of the year, because this management group has made it pretty clear that to plan going forward, they need to know, right? Is this going to be a guy that we have on our roster going forward? Now, of course, RFA versus UFA, big difference, and I think even more important, right? So, although at the same time, maybe it's, hey, we're either going to extend you for a long time or we're not going to extend you at all, and maybe that makes it a little bit easier, because there's not that 1 year bubble bridge sort of thing that you really have to focus on building your team around. So it could. I think Besser's so past all of this at this point that I'm not too concerned about it. Like, I feel like he's been through everything there is to go through. That I feel like a looming contract extension, or lack thereof, I don't think is going to be a big inhibitor. I think what's best for the Canucks is for this team to be really good again, for Besser to be really good again, and for the team to be like, hey, we want you around, and for Besser to want to stay, right? That's best case scenario. So it's going to be a lot like, I mean, with Horvat, there was a distraction, but also the team was struggling, right?
Yeah.
Like they were floundering and they ended up missing the playoffs. Whereas if you're a team that is second place in the Pacific Division and you're just, you're cruising, you're on a 105 point pace, let's say, then who cares, right? Like it's just not going to be it's going to be a story, but it's not going to be as big of a story as if they're on pace for 93 points and at risk of missing the playoffs. So I think it's going to be very much dictated by how the team does.
I love what you said, Parker. Yeah, different situations in terms of where the teams are at. And I also have two other points. Remember, Bo Horvat was the captain at the time, and Brock Besser isn't. So I think that's a big thing. And the other thing is, Horvat had nothing to prove from a standpoint of maybe his leadership, but he was a solid 50 to 60 point guy. Besser's been a little up and down, and we don't even sure about his injury status. We hope everything's clear. So I just think the situations are radically different, to be honest with you. And therefore, I agree. I do not think that the Besser thing will be anywhere close to as a distraction as the Horvat one.
Yep. No, fully agree.
Yep. Awesome.
All right, folks, we are past the hour mark. It is 11:03. Thank you all very much for joining us. Please hit the like button and subscribe while you're here. Those on the audio side, please hit the subscribe button on the podcast that you're listening to. If you missed any part of the show, you can rewind back to the beginning. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform. Just search for Canucks After Dark, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get them. Like I said, predictions episode will be next, or 3 weeks from now, on October 7th, and that'll also be our regular season preview show, essentially. But we're here every Monday until then. Next Monday, we'll be talking about camp. That's the last day of camp, is Monday, if I'm not mistaken. So we should have an idea of, what lines are looking like to start the season, et cetera, et cetera. And that's going to be one day before preseason hockey, September 24th. So that'll be sort of our preseason preview. We'll be back on the 30th as well to wrap up the preseason. Essentially, they have one more preseason game 4 days later than the one before that. Seems really silly to have your second to last preseason game on September 30th and your last one on October 4th. But either way, we'll be live after the game on September 30th, 6 p.m. start in Edmonton. So we'll be live at 10 o'clock for a little 5-game roundup at that point. 5 games in 7 days, which is absurd. And at that point, we'll really have some ideas on what the team is looking like. And then, like I said, October 7th will be 2 days before the start of the season to get things going. But Clay, any parting words this evening as we wrap up here?
Man, Parker, I sound like a broken record every week, but it's feeling more real. It's feeling closer. We wrapped up one prediction set. We're looking forward to another one. We see 3 games already. Now we're looking at training camp, and we got line combinations and deep pairings. We're gonna get to talk about next week's show. It feels good, and it feels good to be back with you. And I'm looking forward to. I see the numbers on our shows are starting to grow again. So I think people are finding us once again, or discovering us, or rediscovering us, and I think it's a great time to be a Canucks fan. And like we've always said, kind of our mantra for the past month, the feeling is so much different. Expectations are so much different. And maybe we're going to have to adjust our predictions, therefore.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Like I said, hit subscribe, hit like. If you're still up, you can jump over to Clay's channel for another chunk of live content.
Come on
you
over.
Can find us. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us wherever. Otherwise, we're excited for the season to get started. Have a good night, everybody.